Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. Hello, it's Emmy. I am out in the great outdoors to taste and test out this 24-hour ration. Now, this is a 24-hour ration that was sent to me by BlackDogBob. Thanks again so much, Bob, for sending me yet another wonderful ration. This one is by Mission Specific Products, and it is a 24-hour emergency ration. This is a civilian ration, and it is huge and very, very comprehensive. Look at that. It's in a clear bag, and you can see already that through the bag there is a lot to this ration. So this is menu number 1, chicken and rice with vegetables, and Tuscan beef with lentils and vegetables. So as you've noticed, I am outside, and I forgot, of all things, my pocket knife. But luckily I have this little thing. I keep it on my keys, and it's a Swiss and Tech utility key, and I've used this more times than I'd like to admit. But because I've had pocket knives confiscated at the airport, I've taken this, and you just hang it right on your keychain, and it looks just like a key, but it has basic things like a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, a little knife, and yeah, just basic things. So this is what I'm going to be using today. Okay, so we'll open this up. 2 main entrees. This is the chicken and rice with vegetables, and this is the Tuscan beef with cannellini beans. 3 flameless ration heaters, which is really, really great because then we can actually heat all the rations at one time. 1 package of tortillas. This is made by MRE Star, and this is 1 package of crackers. Here is our potable purified drinking water, 3 packs of those. Nut and raisin mix, cinnamon oatmeal, dried fruit mix, corn nuts, package of oatmeal cookies, high energy bar, long grain white rice, lemonade flavored drink mix, grape flavored drink mix, military issue peanut butter package, 2 accessory packs, and toothpaste and a toothbrush to freshen up. Great. Let's go ahead and taste some of this water and also use this to heat up our ration. 4.22 ounces of water. So just a little bit of water. I'm going to pour it all into this cup so I don't spill it. All right, let's give this a sip. Cheers. Tastes like water. Actually, it tastes like water that's been in an inflatable kiddie pool. Yeah, this is a little bit like vinyl, but that's not surprising because this water has been sitting in a plastic bag. So this is just like our standard flameless ration heater. We're going to add a couple tablespoons of water in there just to this fill line, then drop our ration into there and then seal it up and let it sit for about 10 minutes. Just to the fill line, not much. And we're going to add the ration to here. And it's immediately reacting. It's starting to puff up. And then we're going to place it back in the box just to provide a little insulation. If we can get it back in the box. Then we're going to elevate it a little bit so that the water doesn't leak out. So we're going to do the same thing with the chicken and rice. Entree in there. It's already starting to react. And I'm also going to add 1 water in there as well so I can make my oatmeal. So I'll put that on the other side. So there's ants under this table. All the lovely things that happen when you do this outdoors. Okay. All right, so this one is elevated as well. We want to make sure that the open side is angled upwards. I've done one other ration tasting outdoors, and that was my beef stew ration, I believe, and I'll put the link down below if you haven't seen that one. It was so cool that day. And then my last ration heater, I'm going to cook my rice. Puffing up nicely, and these are just sitting on a stick here. So while those are cooking up, let's open up our accessory pack and see what's in there. Plastic spoon, a little tiny roll of Smarties, a moist towelette, some sugar, salt and pepper, very clearly labeled, a napkin, some coffee, non-dairy creamer, and great hot sauce. I'm going to use my moist towelette and clean up first. Let's see if it's lemon scented. It is. These are my favorite towelettes. Remind me of eating KFC when I was a little girl. Let's go ahead and try the high energy bar. Whoa, look at this. Wow, that is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something more like a power bar or maybe like a giant Fig Newton. But this looks like something that came out of my can ration, circa 1984, out of my pilot's emergency ration. It's just a solid kind of brick. smells a little coconutty. It's a little buttery. It looks a little bit like cornbread, but it's much firmer. Can you hear that? Itadakimasu. And it tastes pretty similar too. It is very, very, very sweet. It's got kind of a granular texture, kind of like crushed up cereal, kind of like crushed up cornflakes. It has a strong kind of coconut oil flavor to it. It's a little bit oily, sweet. It's not very good. But this, of course, is an emergency ration, and what you're trying to do is get yourself some quick calories in a small, compact size, and this would definitely do it. So this bar contains 410 calories, so very dense and full of calories, right? But that's what you need in an emergency situation. Let's try the corn nuts. That sounds really familiar. Let's see how that is. And that looks really familiar. Looks just like corn nuts, maybe a little bit smaller, but they're actual kernels of corn that have been fried and salted. Let's give them a taste. Yum! Those are delicious. Nice and fresh, not at all oily or rancid. Great crisp crunch without being too firm and too hard. Full of great toasted corn flavor and great crackly, crunchy texture. So why don't we mix up a couple drinks? I've got 1 packet of water left, and I'm going to divide it between these 2 cups. Lemonade flavored drink, mixed with 12 ounces of water, vitamin C added. Smells like country time lemonade. Let's mix that up. Cheers. Ooh, that's concentrated. And it tastes just like country time lemonade. It's got that artificial lemonade flavor. It has citric acid in it, which makes you pucker. And it's very, very sweet and kind of Kool-Aid-y. It's great. It reminds you of when you were like 8. Let's open up the dried fruit mix next. This comes in a blue packet. Oh my gosh, look at that color. I think that's supposed to be papaya, the bright orange. And I believe that's pineapple. And those little bits right there are banana chips. This is banana chips, coconut oil, papaya. Yep. That definitely has some added sugar to it. It's very, very sweet. It's like a candy. In terms of papaya flavor, it's pretty subtle, but it's kind of crystalline on the outside. When you bite into it, it's like a gel on the inside. Great texture. Let's try the pineapple one. That one's tastier. It has more of a fruity flavor to it. Definitely tastes like pineapple, but similar kind of crystally jelly texture as the papaya. All right, let's taste a banana chip. Now, banana chips remind me of when I was a kid. Oh yeah. I'm not a huge fan of banana chips. They always taste a little bit oily and greasy to me, and they have an odd crunch. They're firm yet crisp, but not exactly my favorite. They don't taste that banana-y. A little bit sweet, but a nice little counterpoint to the very sweet papaya and pineapple. Next, let's try the nut and raisin mix. There's that. Ooh. So we have some almonds, peanuts, walnuts, raisins, and lots of sunflower seeds. And that's great. Great combination of rich, earthy, nutty nuts, and you get these nice, chewy, plump raisins in there as well. This is great. I love the fact this is not salted at all, and it really doesn't need it. And since it's just raisins, it's not overly sweet. Great. Love this snack. Alrighty, so let's check out our entrees. Let's try the first one that we started with, which was the Tuscan beef. Very hot. And let's splash ourselves in the face with MRE water juice. Don't recommend it. Okay. So, since I'm outside and I have only one plate, I think I'm going to put everything onto one plate so you can see everything at once. There you go. That actually looks pretty good. It smells pretty good too. So I'm going to grab the rice out of this bag. Scoop some of that out of there. And the last entree, which is the chicken and rice with vegetables. Let's get that out. and our hot water. Ooh, this one's got a much thicker consistency. I'm gonna try the beef first. Cannellini bean and some beef as well. All right, here we go. Itadakimasu. That's not bad. Has a very strong flavor of basil and the kind of Italian herbs going on in there. The meat is a little dry. It comes in these little cubes, but kind of familiar in the sense that it's a bit like beef stew, but a very strong kind of tomato saucy basil flavor. Beans are well cooked, nice and soft, and the whole thing is a little bit soupy, but it tastes pretty good. It's not too salty. I like that. And it's good with the rice. Let's just have the rice by itself. The rice is all right. It's a little mushy. It reminds me a little bit more like pasta rather than rice. It's kind of wet, but it's a starch. It'll fill your belly, and it goes pretty well with the stew. We also have crackers and some tortillas as well. So let's have that with this as well. Nice little hiss on the crackers. And here there are 2 very large crackers. Look at that, that's beautiful. And as usual, the cracker doesn't disappoint. It adds a little bit of lightness, a nice crunch, a good little textural variety to the textures that are happening in the stew. I like these crackers as well. They're just like saltine crackers, a little bit finer crumb, but they're not salty. And they're very, very tender. Some of the crackers they include in the military rations tend to be very, very hard, and practical wise it makes a lot of sense because you don't want a bunch of cracker crumbs in your pack, so they need to be very sturdy. These are very, very delicate and tender, so it wouldn't be practical for that purpose, but in terms of eating, great. Let's try the chicken and rice. Here we go. That's not bad. It's like a chicken stew. It tastes very strongly of celery salt. So it has a good celery flavor, kind of like poultry seasoning, a little bit of sage in there. A little bit of tomato for tanginess. And there's some potatoes in there as well. I think that's with the vegetable. Oh yeah, there's some carrots in here too. I just got a little piece of chicken in there, a little bit dry, but as a stew, not bad. This is a little saltier than the beef dish though, but yeah, it's not bad. Let's have that with the cracker. And again, I like it much better with the cracker. Some of that crunch is really nice. So there are the 2 entrees, and for what they were, pretty tasty. Okay, and the portions are pretty hearty as well. This is only about 1/3 of the entire packet. So now that I've got some hot warm water, I'm going to mix up my oatmeal. So this is apple cinnamon oatmeal. Pour the contents of that in here. And then I'm going to add my warm water here. So I am at a lake, so if you hear a lot of rambunctious things going on, that's children frolicking as they should be at a lake, right? All right, so there's some nice apple chunks in there, lots of cinnamon. I'm going to stir that around. I'm going to let that soak up a little bit, and hopefully that will thicken up. Okay, next let's have our Next let's have our flour tortilla with a little bit of peanut butter. Look how stinking cute these are. I've never had tortillas this size before. Oh my gosh, they're like babies. They're so cute. With this, I've learned that you must knead it to reincorporate the peanut butter oil back with the peanut butter solids. It's like smooth style peanut butter, and fold that in half. Now, I have to say, these flour tortillas do not disappoint. They taste exactly like the supermarket variety, very soft, supple, have a slight kind of sour smell to them, but I think that's probably because of the preservatives they add to this. But I'm always impressed at how soft these remain, and tender and pliant and fresh tasting. All right, let's check on our oatmeal. Now, the oatmeal did not reconstitute all that well. My water was not very hot. Yeah. Actually not bad at all. A little bit grainy, a little bit soupy, but the apples in there are really great. They're a little bit tangy and very cinnamony, very similar to the instant packets of Quaker oatmeal that you can get. just like that. And in terms of portion, it's about the same size too, about 4 ounces of oatmeal, but enough to get you going in the morning. So I'm gonna make my last flavored beverage, which is the grape flavor. And I'm gonna add not so much as I did with the lemonade. Yep, that tastes just like grape Kool-Aid. Unapologetically artificial grape flavor, sweet. That tastes like summer. And the last thing I have is this, and these are the oatmeal cookies. 4 oatmeal cookies. These look like the kind that you can find in a sleeve at the store. And they crack, they're nice and crispy. Full of oatmeal-y flavor, sweet, a little bit vanilla, but very, very, very familiar. Maybe a touch of cinnamon in there as well, but very typical oatmeal cookie. I forgot to taste my hot sauce. I'm bringing my entree back over here. This is Louisiana style. Let's put that on the chicken. Oh, that is such an improvement. I think they should add about 5 of those packets to this MRE. Not only does it add a little bit of heat, it's not very spicy, but it injects a lot of a vinegary flavor, which is great. It really peps this up, makes it feel more alive and tasty. So much better. Now I'm gonna taste the last thing, and it's this. And this is very familiar to all trick-or-treaters, and this is a roll of Smarties. Did I tell you that story about this kid that was in my middle school who would grind these up and snort them? Do not do that, children. These are Smarties, they're candies, meant to be eaten. They come in these little pastel colors. These are not my favorite, but somehow they're great. They remind me of the very dregs of your Halloween stash, because these are things that were my least favorite. They crumble very, very nicely into fine, fine crumb and just kind of disappear. They're a little bit tangy, and they've got artificial fruit flavors. So that was an orange. This yellow one, kind of a banana flavor. Actually, these are almost identical to Japanese candies called ramune candy, but slightly different flavor. That one is really sour. I like that one. So just for simulation purposes, imagine I just put some toothpaste on here. I ran out of water, so I can't really brush my teeth, but I want to feel what this toothbrush feels like on my teeth. Oh, not so great. It's a little bit rough, but this is a disposable toothbrush after all. And if it's an emergency situation, all you're looking for is just to get a little bit cleaned up and have a little bit of that dignity. So this would work. All right, so that's it for the 24-hour mission-specific ration. Huge ration, very, very comprehensive with lots of stuff in there. Big thanks to Bob so much for sending this to me once again. If you missed my other military rations, be sure to check out the military ration playlist. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy that one. I hope you guys learned something. Share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Take care. Bye.